is the Charlie Evans Morning Inspirational Show on this 22nd day of March. And joining us is an author and speaker who is dedicated to helping people find a better way to live. He has a remarkable backstory with his family, and he has two books, including The Mount of Olives, 11 Declarations to an Extraordinary Life. Good morning, Michael. How are you?
Hey, good morning, Charlie. I'm great. It's good to be on the show.
Is it pronounced Michael Ivanov?
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, you got it. You got it right.
Oh, man. Well, I really like your work. I follow you. I've watched your YouTube clips, and the books look so insightful. And I wanted to start off by getting into a little of your background. I understand that you were born in Soviet Russia and came to the U.S. at 2 with your family, your parents and siblings, as political refugees. And take us back to that story.
Yeah, that's correct. So as you said, yeah, 2 years old. It was right about the fall of communism. So they weren't letting very many people leave. They didn't want people to leave. Of course, it's not good for a country when everyone bails. So we were able to go under the status of political refugees, and so that's how we were able to let Russia allowed us to leave, and America accepted us at that point. So it was kind of a crazy time, but yeah, we got lucky and we're some of the few that were able to get out at that time.
And where did you all end up?
So we actually landed in New York, then we made our way to Texas, and we lived there for about 3 months, and then packed up our truck and drove over to Vancouver, Washington, and we've been here since.
Oh, my. Well, I wanted to find out how you became a motivational speaker and author. I was in TV news for a long time as a sports anchor, and I've been asked to speak at all kinds of things from National Honor Society events in
Hmm.
schools to civic clubs and MC events. So I became comfortable, and in 2005, I went into professional speaking because of that background. And
Oh
here
wow.
you are on fire. How did it happen for you?
So I mean, to go back a little bit, just what got me inspired in the first place, and kind of what brought me here was, I'm a grandson, of a siege of Leningrad survivor. My grandfather was, I don't know if you know much about World War II, but he in the siege of Leningrad, that's when Germany had the Russians surrounded the city of Leningrad, and so he was one of those guys that that they sent with without a rifle and just a pack of bullets. So and then he that's where he was captured, and he spent 4 years in a concentration camp, and so I didn't get a chance to meet him. I was 1 year old, 1 years old, when he passed away. But I grew up on these kind of stories, and passed down through my mom and through my dad. And so growing up, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to write ever since I was a kid. I wanted to inspire people, like I was inspired through story. And but somewhere along the way, like it often happens, we kind of lose sight of those dreams and of who we are and what we wanted to do. And kind of life took over, and when I got out of college, just time to pick a career, time to choose something safe, something that can move forward in. But of course, like it often happens when you're not living out with your talents, when you're not doing what you enjoy doing, eventually, you can find yourself in a place where you're kind of just floating through life. And that's where I found myself. And it was at that point where, I don't know, Charlie, if you know the author Og Mandino. He wrote some great classics, but yeah, somebody gave me a copy of his book, and I read his book, and then I had to look him up, and and it inspired. It kind of reminded me of some of those dreams that I had as a young kid, and then I looked him up on YouTube, and I found this old speech of his. He passed away, I think, in the early '90s. But this old recording of him speaking, and I watched this guy, who's passed away a long time ago, get up onto that stage and deliver this speech, and spoke right into my heart. And I remember thinking, how does somebody from that generation, from so long ago, inspire a kid today, in our fast-paced, moving world and crazy world? And I thought, if I can do that for some kid, and who knows what the world looks like. If I can do that when I'm long and gone, and some kid finds an old video of me, or some kid picks up my book and reads it, I thought that would be a life worth living. And ever since then, that's what ignited that dream.
We're talking to Michael Ivanov, and the Facebook page is Michael Ivanov, Ivanov, Speak Life. And he has written books, and I want to talk about those. Tell us, what is the overall purpose of your first two books, and tell us about those books.
So, with anything I speak about, anything I write, and hopefully going forward, that's always the way it's going to be, is the overall purpose is just to remind people just of how capable they are, and that they can they can achieve whatever they put their minds through, and anybody can live an extraordinary life. But the important thing is that people need to understand that it's up to them, to create it. You don't have to stumble into an extreme amount of luck to be successful. There's certain life principles that so many successful people that came before us, followed and lived by and teach, that if we just learn those principles, we can experience the same things. We don't need to, like I said, we don't need to get lucky. We don't need to have certain opportunities. There's a way of creating opportunities by living through these principles. And so, yeah, the purpose of anything I speak on, the purpose of anything I write, is to just wake people up to that potential, and remind them of how much in control of their lives they are, despite, obstacles and things that we all face, and we all have different ones.
The website is speaklife365.com. That's speaklife365.com. Well, what really got my interest was the book, The Mount of Olives, 11 Declarations on an Extraordinary Life, the cover and everything. And I think people relate to things like 5 ways or 7 ways and 11 declarations. And what principles do you teach in that book?
The principles I teach in the book, they kind of came from my own personal development journey, and so some of the struggles and some of the moments that I had to quote unquote find my purpose and really find who I am, and kind of bring me back to some of those dreams, and so the principles in the story, I like to write, both of my books are written as a fictional story, but in ancient times. And so with the Mount of Olives, it's about this young man, and he's on this journey, and he's a young Roman man, and he meets this wealthy Arabian merchant, and from him he discovers these principles. I wanted to kind of wrap them into a story, because I know we remember things better through story, and that's how Ogmandino, my favorite author, wrote in that style. I know that's what sticks with people. And so I go through these 11 principles that he learns, and he writes them out as declarations, so that way he can speak them over his life. And the first one, for example, is words spoken set your life in motion, and that's the principle of the importance of your self-talk. We're like farmers, and our words and our thoughts are like seeds, and whether they're conversations that we have externally, or they're conversations that we have in our minds, we shape our life by the way that we talk to ourselves, by the way that by the words that we choose. And so that principle is a reminder for people to monitor the way they talk to themselves, because eventually everything you say and think starts showing up in your life. And and I don't know if we have time, Charlie, to go through all 11, but I can do a quick brief.
Yeah, why don't we do like the first 5, and then in another interview we can go over more.
Awesome, sounds good. We can do that. Yeah. So the second principle in that, and as the story goes, he's learning these and writing them out. And so number 2 is live with the end in mind, and this is about vision. This is about having a destination. This is about getting up out of bed every morning and not just stepping right into your routine, but knowing where you're going. So many of us, we have a different amount of time on this earth, and we never know what that is. But if you have a vision, if you have an idea of what you want to become, of what you want your life to look like, you wake up and you move towards that vision every single day. You're going to be someone who lives with purpose and grows through that. And so that's an important one. And number 3 is in all things be filled with gratitude. And this is not something mind blowing. This is not. These are just these principles that we've heard about all of our life, but we sometimes forget about. And I'm still lucky enough to wake up and get on the phone call with my mom or my dad and make lunch plans and ask for advice. But for so many of us, that's no longer a possibility. And so this principle is just about taking for people to remember that take your focus on everything that's going wrong in life and turning your focus on what's already been right and all those incredible things that maybe you take for granted, and focusing on those. And number 4, is each day give of yourself more than you ever have before. And this is reminding people that whatever you do, wherever you're at in life, what you do matters, and people are always watching. And even if you don't like what you do at the moment, but you show up and you give your best every single day, that's opportunity. You're creating opportunities for yourself. And a quick story with how I picked up on that principle in my own personal life. We were at a bar a while back, and they had this live music, and they had this band playing, and this one of the band members in particular, he was, the band, the rest of them kind of showed up. They were dressed in their regular street clothes, and only one of the band members showed up, and he was dressed in full costume. They were a 50s cover band, so he had the hair slicked back, he had the baggy jeans, the polished shoes, and this guy was running up and down the stage, and when he's playing the guitar, his eyebrows looked like they're about to float to the top of his head, and this guy was just going for it. And I remember looking around on every single eye was on this guy in that venue, and I remember thinking, what am I doing so well in my life that people can't take their eyes off of me, and where can I start? And that's always stuck with me, and it reminds me that if I show up fully to what I do every day, somebody's watching, and it can inspire somebody else to live better. Yeah, and yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead with number 5.
Yeah, and number 5 is a pretty important one, especially for myself. And this one's blame no one but yourself. I feel like a lot of times, including myself at times, if you ever heard, baby sloths are sometimes known to fall out of trees because they'll mistake their own hands for branches, and they grab on and they fall out. And I feel like that's how a lot of us live. We have this list of excuses, this blame list, and we hold on to this list, and it's the only thing that we have, like it's a prized possession. And so many times, so many opportunities we miss in life because we are too focused on, giving the reasons why we can't do something, as opposed to letting go of that blame list, letting go of that thing that we're holding on to, that very thing that's taking us down, and, reaching out and grabbing for something else to hold on to. And that's a powerful principle that can change your life, and that'll change your perspective very quickly.
Absolutely. Talking with Michael Ivanov, life on Facebook. Look for it. Last name spelled Ivanov, and other areas, a YouTube channel and all. And his book, The Mount of Olives, 11 Declarations to an Extraordinary Life. And soon we're going to go over the other 6. And going back to your family coming from Soviet Russia when you were 2 as political refugees, and you talked about your grandfather was in the seas of Leningrad, a survivor in World War II. Is that related to that Jude Law movie, Enemy at the Gates, I believe, with Ed Harris?
So yeah, Enemy at the Gates was actually in Stalingrad, which was another very brutal battle, but very similar situation. They were desperate. He was actually being trained to be a pilot, but they were so desperate they just grabbed whoever they could, sent him to the front lines. They gave him a pack of 5 bullets, and they said, "Go, don't come back, go." And so you basically run until you either pick up a rifle or or attack someone with bare hands. Yeah, so. Yeah.
My goodness, I can see how that, and like you said, the other things have led you to become an author and speaker, and we want to talk to you from time to time here and just gain insights from your work. Where are you based out of now, Michael?
Vancouver, Washington.
That was still in Vancouver. Oh, my.
Yeah.
So, yes, that is. Now, Vancouver, Washington, is that right near Vancouver, Canada?
So it's actually right across the river from Portland, Oregon. Yeah,
Okay.
it's about 5 hours away from 5 hour drive away from Vancouver, Canada. So
Okay.
yeah,
Yes,
around here we like to say Vancouver, not BC, Washington, not DC.
I bet you do. Yes, I hosted a group trip out to the Pacific Northwest, and in Portland, we went to that Voodoo Donuts out there with the crazy different donuts.
Oh yeah, yeah. Every time I'm at the airport, I see people walking with those Voodoo donut boxes. Yeah, it's popular.
Oh man, well, it's so good to talk to you, and we want to talk again, Michael. And we appreciate your dedication and everything you do.
I would love to, Charlie. I appreciate your time. Thank you very much.